Hey everybody, Matty here, and in today's video I'm going to take you through the new Exotic Mission Encore on Expert mode so you can see where you can get all the chests, so you can get the new Exotic Auto Rifle as well as the Intrinsic and Exotic Perk refit for it. So if you do find this video helpful, I would greatly appreciate if you could like it, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to show you everything that you need to do this mission, the pathing, everything. I'm going to cut out some of the fighting, but that's about it. I'll still give you some helpful tips and tricks, but otherwise let's go ahead and get into it. In the opening area, you actually want to hug the right wall so you can climb up and scale this ramp. Then you want to jump down to your left and into this little ball. It's going to have a hole cut out, and that's how you actually enter this mission. From there, just follow the platforming. You want to jump down and to the right, and then you're getting to this section with a bunch of elevators. Now this elevator section is just a bit time consuming. There's nothing challenging really here. There are a few spots that shoot little pistons out that can hit you, but realistically this is just a bit of a time waste. It's nothing you really need to concern yourself with. The elevators are pretty self-explanatory. They follow you and come right to where you need. So again, there's not really any jumping puzzly mechanics with this, so I'm not really sure why this is in here, to be honest. Again, it's just a little bit of a time waste. Just follow the elevators and you'll be fine. Now, if you already know where to go, I do have chapters on the video, so you can go ahead and skip ahead to where you need to be. But otherwise, once you keep following the path here, it's going to take you to another section that's pretty easy to see where you need to go. There's this giant platform with a kind of man cannon underneath it, and a bunch of moving things on the wall. You actually want to jump on top of these little pistons. If you go underneath them, they do crush you. And when you get to the top, there's going to be a second one you have to go into. And again, just go on top of them, don't go underneath them. When you get to the next area, however, it can reset you. So this is like the first little bait that they have. You want to go down here and to the right where there's a purple room. If you go the other direction and to the left, it actually sends you all the way back to the beginning. Now once you've dropped down into this purple room, go to the left path. If you've already completed the specimen for this week, which you get from this mission earlier, it'll spawn these confluxes, and what you need to do is actually activate the conflux, wait for the oracle boxes to spawn, and you want to shoot the box that has the little node underneath it. So if you shoot these in the wrong order, it just resets. It's not a big deal, but just you want to look for the one that has the little white box underneath it, and that's how you know the next one you need to shoot. Once you've shot all 4 of them, another wave spawns. Shooting all 4 of those spawns the chest. Getting this chest gets you a challenge and a triumph, and it also is just part of the sequence for getting the secret chest. Now, moving on to the next part, this is going to be the first puzzly area where it introduces you to a mechanic for this mission. You have to fight your way over to the right side, and your goal is to essentially spawn a way across this chasm, and you can do that by getting what we are going to see here in the next room. So once you fight your way through all the Cabal, you're going to see a bunch of these little plates with green arrows above them. One of them will have a object you can pick up, and it's going to give you the ability to connect things. So it's called a Vex module connection, and what you want to do is take this and dunk it in these various platforms all around, and when you dunk it, it spawns things in the world. So the green one actually makes platforms that you can jump on, and it disables vex barriers and things like that. So you're able to activate these other confluxes, and you need to activate all 3 in order to move on to the next area. So the first 2 are pretty obvious. One's right in front of you, the next one's over to your left, but this third one's actually down. So there's 2 ways you can get down here. I recommend just jumping down the middle. Just keep in mind that there is going to be a barrier champion here, so you want to keep your eye out for that, be prepared for that. I kind of alternate between Exotic and Outbreak here, just because they are great for the champions. One's good for Overload this season, and the other is great for barrier. Now, once you've dunked on that third one, you want to go here to your left, and there's going to be a Minotaur you kill, and he drops the second type of node that you need to be aware of, and that's a partition node. A partition node will actually get rid of things in the world. So like the green one that makes things, the yellow one or orange one gets rid of them. This allows you to move your green node into the next room without having to find a second one, basically. So once you've activated that last complex, go ahead and grab your green node and make your way back up to the top, and you're going to move on to the next area. Now this next area is a pain, especially if you're solo. It is just incredibly glitchy. Like typical of Buggy, it just busted. So be prepared for a little bit of frustration here. So once you put your module in, a wall is going to open up on the back. You want to go ahead and make your way to the end of that, and a second green module will be available for the taking. Now, just like Indiana Jones, it's going to cause a trap to trigger, and you're going to need to make your way back out to that room in a certain amount of time. Now, here's where the glitchiness kind of comes in. So you're running away from this death wall that's going to try and kill you. There's a bunch of ads that try to kill you as well. Just run past them as best you can. Make sure you're on grapple if it helps. But what you need to do is try and not do this too quickly, which is kind of counterintuitive. If you run too quickly, it still wipes you, which is kind of stupid. But as you can see here in the background, you want to take this green node and dunk it at that first initial spot, and that is what's supposed to save you. Now what happens is if you dunk it, but you don't pick up that other node, it kills you. If you don't pick it up quickly enough, it kills you. If you pick it up too quickly, it kills you. So it's really just a matter of getting the timing right, and it's just honestly a bunch of trial and error. The best timing I've found is you dunk that node at the entrance area, and then you wait a few seconds for the red death wall to appear at the doorway that you just came out of, and that's when you pick up the second one. Now, again, there could be something else to this, but this is the thing that I've found that works most consistently. You can see here I dunked it, that death wall was just sitting there, and I was fine. It very well could be that you have to kill everything in that room before you dunk, or right before that wall gets to the end. It could be that you have to activate that conflux. I've tried multiple things. Nothing by itself seemed to make a difference. The main thing that seemed to do it was just the timing of dunking that green node and picking up that other node. So, best of luck to you on this one. Please let me know in the comments below if you figured out some other trick to this. I think it's just buggy, and Buggy just needs to fix their code. But now that you've made it out of there with a second module, you're able to activate this dunk spot that you found initially, and it's going to spawn a platform to go across this big chasm. So go ahead and dunk that node and make your way on. The next area is going to be just a little bit of platforming. Again, there's nothing too serious here, but if you're being a little distracted like I am, you will get hit by the things that come out of the wall, and they can kill you. This isn't a darkness area. It really doesn't make a big difference. It's a pretty low respawn timer. It just is a bit annoying. But just keep following the path there until you get to an elevator, and at the end you're going to see a big open room, which is like a mini encounter sort of thing. Again, it's just a little bit more fighting. It's not a darkness area. You don't really need to be concerned with anything here. It just starts to introduce you to the third mechanic. So what you have to do here is just clear out all the ads, kind of like normal. There's going to be another Minotaur that eventually spawns, and he's going to drop an orange guy, which you then dunk at the top, which takes you into the next room. So again, nothing spectacular here. Just keep fighting until you're able to get to the next area. Now, once you've dunked that orange thing and made your way into the next room, This is where the next conflicts is. That's going to let you get the second chest. And again, this is all just part of the same chest mechanic stuff. You can feel free to pick up all the materials and use your piston hammer to get, more radiolite. But once you've had your fill of picking up all the radiolite, go ahead and activate the conflux, and this is going to activate a portal to your right side. Go ahead and go into that portal, and it's going to take you back to that first room where you initialize the gates, and you sync them all up. So this is like your hub, which is why you have to do that first. Go ahead and go into the only other active portal in the area, and it's going to take you back to the first initial place you spawned in at. There's going to be another conflux here that you need to activate, and activating it is going to spawn a bunch of Vex plates around the area. There's little ones that you find on Europa and like those mini public event things. You have a minute 30 to find and shoot them all. There's going to be 5 in total. It's going to be a set of 3 and then a set of 2. Don't worry about making a mistake. If you mess up, you just have to kill a few Vex. It's not a big deal. But follow the beams of light from the conduit as soon as you activate it. Again, you've got a minute 30. The beams of light do kind of stop sometimes and don't go through everything as far as like, it doesn't go directly to the plate. It just points you in that general direction. You might have to go around the side of something in order to actually see it. But if you want to know where all the plates are, just follow me in the background here. I go through them fairly quickly. I recommend an eager-edged sword here. It just makes it a lot easier if you're solo. There is a bit of back and forth. Again, if you're with anyone else, this will be very quick. But once you've activated all the plates, it's going to get you the second chest here. And this one's going to give you the Intrinsic for the weapon, as well as the Triumph Vector Exclusion. So just keep that in mind that this is all for Triumphs and Intrinsics. But just make your way back to the portal you came through and the one before that, and it'll take you back to the room where you initially started, and then you want to go up the elevator to progress like normal. Now this next room is going to introduce the third and final module, and it's going to be this blue one. This one opens Vex portals, which allows you to move around the map a little bit easier and bypass certain things. This is mostly going to come up in the final boss encounter. You don't really need to worry about it too much, but this is just it introducing the mechanic to you. So kill all the Vex in here, go to the right, pick up the blue node, and then dunk it to go into the next room. In this next room, it's a little bit of a puzzle, but not really. There's 1 green node and 2 blue nodes that you have to move around a little bit. It really isn't that complicated. I'll show it on the background here for a second, but I really think you'll be able to figure this out. You have to just pick up a blue node, take it to a portal, which you then pick up another blue node at, and then move around some. I'm not going to really show it in the background gameplay here because I really think you'll be able to do this pretty easily. It's not too complicated. You're just moving 2 blue nodes and a green node around. It's pretty straightforward, I believe in you. But the goal is to get the blue node into the portal at the very back here, and you want to get a second one to activate the following portal. So you just go to the right and pick up the initial one that you started with here. So I really don't think you'll have any trouble with this, so I'm going to go ahead and skip it, and I will see you at the next area. Now once you've made your way through that second portal, you're going to enter the first boss encounter. There are 2 boss encounters for this mission, and this first one is kind of a 2-parter, so double the fun. What you want to do here is be prepared to fight a Subjugator and a Tormentor. The Subjugator is a boss. The Tormentor is kind of a boss, but not really. He can be affected by freeze and ignitions and stuff like that. It's kind of a weird setup, but go ahead and plant your rally flag, walk forward, and it spawns the Subjugator first, and then it's going to alternate to the Tormentor. So there's a ton of cover. There's infinitely respawning adds, it seems. So just do your best to clear out the Subjugator as quickly as possible. I recommend if you're on Prismatic to just run, just activate your Prismatic and just burn them as quickly as you can. I like to save my super for the Tormentor itself. The Tormentor can be a bit annoying, which is why I like to do that. So once you get to that first health gate on the Subjugator, he teleports away and releases a blue node, which you can then grab and take to the portal to your right. Going through this portal is going to take you to the next area where the Tormentor is going to spawn. So again, if you're running this solo, I recommend using your super to just burn through him as quickly as possible. If you're on expert, he does hit pretty hard, so just keep that in mind. There is a lower floor to this that has a little red beam of death thing, So if you are in trouble, you can drop down. Just know that there are a bunch of Cabal enemies down there who can hurt you and pretty easily kill you if you're unprepared or if you're too weak to get behind cover or something. I like to use them to kind of build my prismatic back up between encounters here, because again, you're going to alternate back and forth between the Subjugator and the Tormentor. Now, the next room, you're back to the Subjugator, and this one is going to have a Barrier Champion in it as well. So again, that's why I like to alternate between my Kvostov and my Outbreak. Just pop back over to your Outbreak, kill this Barrier Champ and the Subjugator, and be on your way. Now, something to keep in mind here is the next area is kind of a checkpoint, which is a bit odd to have checkpoints in boss encounters, but if you do end up dying in this area, you'll just get reset back to the beginning of this area. So again, you're fighting the Tormentor for the second time. He's going to be enraged now that his shoulders have been popped, so he chases you around a lot more intensely. That's why I like to have my super for this guy, so you can just burn him as quickly as you can. If you don't want to waste your super and you want to save it, that's perfectly fine. The next area is a bit rough because you're fighting the last third of the Tormentor, who's aggroed, and the last third of the Subjugator in a pretty open area, so it can be a little challenging to find cover while you're fighting them both. But again, I like to just burn my super on this guy just to get him out of here as quickly as possible. If you don't like to, that's fine. Feel free to save it. But again, he drops another blue node, which you then take to the back of the room to progress. You will see a bunch of portals that are active around the room here. You can use those that are already like always active, kind of like a Pac-Man portals. You go through one, you come out the other, you can then go through that one to like avoid the Tormentor that's chasing you. Feel free to use those. I didn't really find them too helpful. I liked using that platform that was right at the beginning. But either way, make your way to the final room here, and again, like I mentioned, you're going to fight both of them at the same time. I like to use my Prismatic again to kind of start things off. I personally like to kill the Tormentor first. He's a bit tankier than the Subjugator, but he's the one who chases you and suppresses you and can do that like grab attack. It can be really frustrating, but you are able to stagger him pretty easily. So as long as you have a little bit of cover and something you can kind of kite him around, it isn't too bad. So go ahead and kill them in whatever order you want. Again, I like to go Tormentor first, but either way, once you've mopped them both up, you're going to make your way to the left side here. The portal that's on the kind of balcony stairs situation to the left is going to open up next to the chest, and then you just keep progressing through that area. Once you go through the portal, there's a hole up and to the right, and that's what's going to let you to keep progressing. I recommend switching back to your Outbreak if you're running this combo. There's going to be a few Hydras with the rotating shields. It's nice to shoot through those. And there's a couple Cyclopses, which again are nice to take out from a distance. Once you've cleared out this bottom path, there's going to be a new area that opens up toward the Vex waterfall. You want to go around that way, and there's going to be a way to platform up. So you'll see like a couple rock formations that come out of the wall, and you want to just jump on those, making your way up to the top. Up here is a bit of an ad clear section. There's 2 barrier snipers, there's 2 of those Vex Minotaur guys, and there's going to be 2 wyverns as well. So I recommend just popping your super here, just blowing through everything as quickly as possible. If you can get through the first wyvern and at least one of the Minotaurs, you're going to be in good shape. Everything else you should be able to take out pretty easily from a distance with your Outbreak. But whatever you want to do, just clear this area out as best you can, but then you're just going to keep progressing to the back of the room. So again, I'm going to go ahead and skip through all this. If you want, you can pick up the piston, get the radiolite, but this is just a big ad clear section. It's not a darkness zone, so don't worry about dying here. It really isn't a big deal. They made this exotic mission pretty user-friendly here. So once you've made your way to the back of the room, you're going to go to another area that's, again, more or less just ad clear. The main thing you want to do in this section, though, is take out the Hydra. Killing that Hydra despawns all the other ads in here, so you can kind of just ignore everything else. So again, what I like to do, just put on my Outbreak, pop my Prismatic or my Super or whatever, and just take out that Hydra as quickly as you can. He's going to be up and to the right. He'll be pretty obvious, so just do whatever you need to do to clear him out. Taking out that Hydra, like I said, despawns every enemy that's in this area and unlocks the next portal. Go ahead and go through that portal and then the following portal, because I don't know why they couldn't just take you there directly, but they can't. And this is going to spawn the third conflux that you need to worry about. So go ahead and activate that conflux. You can go ahead and pick up the thing that takes you to the next area as well. I like to just leave that, but go ahead and go through the portal, takes you back to this hub area, and then again go through the only other portal that's open, and this takes you to the little puzzle room. Now I'm not gonna lie, this puzzle is pretty confusing. I more or less just brute forced it. I have an idea about what to do for this, but I haven't been able to confirm that. So the goal is to shoot all the nodes. If you look above you, there's going to be a bunch of nodes. You want to go ahead and shoot them and break them all. There's 5 in total, and there's 5 gates, and you have 2 of these little blue guys that can activate 2 gates. So my theory is if you activate this first one on the left, you can see you go into it, it teleports you somewhere, you're able to shoot a node. You can see that the corresponding node to it is connected by this beam of light and a white node. So my theory is when you activate the first gate and you go into it and shoot that node and you come out, you want to see where that beam of light is connected. What portal is that connected to? You want to take your other blue guy, activate that portal, go through it and shoot that node. Then you essentially want to do the same thing again from that portal. So see where that portal is connected to, take your first blue guy and activate that corresponding portal. My other theory for that is that each one is a pair of 2 and you have to just kind of match them up to each other. So you can see my theory here is that it would then go to this middle one, but as soon as I pick up that first blue guy, it despawns the white node and makes it orange and kind of like reddish, which means, it's wrong. So I think what you have to do then is just find a different pair of 2. So you can see I move it to the left one and it works for that one. So then I would need to go back to the other node that I just came out of and find which one is connected to that portal. So again, this is all theory crafting. If you know the answer, please let me know in the comments below. This was a bit of a slog of a brute force. So just keep in mind that you're able to brute force this pretty easily. Just trial and error, go through all the portals and shoot the nodes. After you've killed enough ads, there's going to be a wyvern that spawns in the middle. Killing that wyvern essentially ends the ad spawning phase. So you'll just be able to do a bunch of trial and error here without any issue of like dying and stuff like that. 2 things to note is that the nodes do respawn after a period of time. So you are in a little bit of a time limit, but you can just reactivate the portal and go through and shoot the node. It's not that big a deal. The other thing is that this puzzle thing does glitch out sometimes, and I was unable to go third person when I pulled out a sword or when I emoted. All my sound stopped in the game, and I've eventually got to the point where I can no longer move the modules. So if that does happen, I had to restart the whole thing for it to work, because you can't continue the puzzle unless you have both blue modules. So again, trial and error, just do it as best you can. If you're running with more than one person, I imagine this is a lot easier, but eventually when you break all the nodes, the chest spawns in the middle, and this is the chest that you need to get the exotic retrofit catalyst thing. This is the one that counts towards that quest. So I actually got it from that chest because I had already beaten this on expert. If you haven't beaten it on expert, it'll just count as that first secret chest. So I imagine that this will be like a weekly puzzle thing that rotates, or they just add on to it every week. So just keep that in mind that this might change from week to week. Otherwise, once you're done with that puzzle, you're going to go back through the portal and you're going to pick up the little exo thing, get a ton of dialogue from Maya, and then you're going to move on to the next area. This is the final area, which has the final boss in it, which can be a bit of a pain if you're solo. If you're not solo, it should be pretty easy. The boss isn't too difficult. If I had to guess, I'd say it's got 5 or 6 million health. You should be able to chunk it pretty quickly. As far as mechanics go, it's more or less just moving the green modules around. You get them by killing the special minotaurs like always. You get one that you then have to dunk at the entrance here. It's going to give you like a little waypoint. Pretty self-explanatory what to do. Dunking the green module here is going to spawn a conflux. Activating the conflux spawns the boss on either the left or the right side of the room. You then need to take that same green module that you just dunked, pick it up, and go to that left or right side, which will then let you spawn a platform and a vex plate, which lets you eventually do damage to the boss. So if you're following on the background gameplay here, once you've activated that conflux, a Cyclops is going to spawn on either the left or the right side of the room, depending on where the boss went. Moving that green module over here spawns the vex plate, standing on the Vex plate allows you to break the shield that is surrounding the boss, and then you can actually damage the boss. There seems to be about a 30-second damage timer, so do keep that in mind when you're doing damage to the boss. You want to make sure you dump all your damage in that 30-second window. I'm just kind of estimating the time frame here based on how long my super lasted and how long I was able to do damage for. It could be a little more, it could be a little less. Nothing seemed to end damage sooner or later. The only thing that I did note is that when you get the boss to almost dead, he does instantly become immune. So you can't just one phase him. You do have to do a little bit of mechanics here. You can't just chunk him instantly. But once you finish that Vex plate, you'll see a little triangle that spawns on the boss's cage, and that's going to signal damage. Breaking that triangle removes the shield. The boss is then going to take a second and then teleport in front of you, and then you can just chunk him. So as you can see here, I'm using Song of Flame while Prismatic. I'm able to do almost half his health through this one super. So if you've got something like Golden Gun, Still Hunt, this I imagine will do amazingly here. The boss is pretty stationary here. He just does a ton of damage, so just keep that in mind. Once the boss phases away, you essentially have to rinse and repeat. It's going to spawn a second Minotaur. You want to go ahead and pick up that first green guy that you moved to the left and bring it back to the middle area here. And this is going to allow you to have 2 green guys. You can permanently keep one in the middle at this point. And once you've killed the Minotaur, he's going to drop a second one. And then when you activate the Conflux, you'll know whether you need to go left or right with that second one. Now, I did skip ahead a little bit here just because you don't need to see all this. But the boss did go left this time, again. So I'm pretty much doing the exact same thing I just did. I'm going to go ahead and pick up that green guy, go left, spawn the platform, do all that shenanigans. Now, you will notice the boss has 2 little health gates. They aren't true health gates, they're more just like mechanics gates. So at that first check mark, which is just under half his health, it's going to spawn these little red kill barriers, which is what you have to get around by using the blue nodes, which spawn the Vex portals. At the final health gate, that's like that last third of his life or whatever, that's going to indicate that you're in the final stand mechanic, more or less, and which the boss is going to spawn in the middle of the room where that Conflux was. I like to get the boss to that final little health gate area, and then use the rest of my super time or my attention on the Minotaurs, because 2 of those Minotaurs are going to spawn as soon as you reach that first health gate where these little red barriers come up. These Minotaurs are going to now drop blue nodes, which you then need to use to activate the Vex portals, which allow you to move around the map. If you are unable to get the boss to the final health gate, you essentially have to do the same thing that you did before by moving the green nodes around, only this time you can only traverse using the portals. So that's why they dropped 2 of those modules for the blue ones that activate the Vex portals, so you can leave to go back to the center, and you want to grab that second one so you can activate the right side as well, just in case you have to go to that right side. But if you were able to get the boss to the final health gate, or you've done that cycle one more time to where the boss is in that final stand mechanic, the boss is going to stand here at the entrance, you have a little bit of cover, and there's just already a triangle on his shield. So go ahead and break that triangle, do that last chunk of health, whatever's remaining, and that's it for this encounter. It really isn't too hard. There's a ton of cover for this final stand bit. There's no other ads that spawn, so it's just you and the boss. So again, they did kind of make this one pretty user-friendly and pretty easy, to be honest. But like I said, that's going to be it for this. Go ahead and kill the boss, collect your chest, and get your rewards. I hope you found this video helpful. Again, if you did, I would greatly appreciate it if you could like it, subscribe to the channel. I will put out a second video showing just the Conflux locations for the secret chests. I imagine this is going to change weekly, but again, I will keep you updated, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.